Okay, after that long intermission, um, okay,
Um,
you guys don't know what goes on when we're not like actually our mics are on the podcast. I swear. Maybe one of these days we have to make a podcast just on the things to talk about here.
I would enjoy it.
uh, but we're here for we're here with Spirit and myself talking about Red Kitchen episode 12. Yeah, episode 12. Uh, Ayush, the fight between Kenshin and the fight between Kenshin and Shinomori. Uh, I guess I want to point out this is a pretty good episode. I actually like the characterization. I even like they even go out of the way to kind of justify fanaticism of the other people amongst his group at the end of the fight, which is kind of cool. Shinomori, as I said before,
Not just fanaticism, but like deep loyalty.
yeah, that too. Like I always said that Shinomori never seemed like that bad of a person. He had his reasons for fighting, and they kept to it. I really thoroughly enjoyed that in terms of just like his reasoning. Apparently, even go into the whole. I guess it makes sense that there were officer positions like after the war, and I guess it's interesting that apparently he was offered so many, and he felt bad for leaving his friends basically at this point behind, because each of them had their own like unique ability, but they weren't getting offers. But I guess we'll talk about that a little bit more later. I just want to say that I really did enjoy the characterization of him in this episode. They could have went any other way with him, but they decided not to, and I gotta appreciate that. It actually like makes me want to see him later on. If there's ever a reason um to bring him back. I guess I also want to say something here. As memory of the show's coming back, there's a few things. I know you said a few episodes ago that you didn't enjoy the I guess the resistance that Kenshin showed to her sword slash that I guess should have like cut an artery. Um, I think there's an explanation, and I've been purposely for the last couple ignoring it. I'm not gonna say what it is. I think there is an actual reasoning, and it has to do with the sword style that Kenshin practices. I'm not entirely sure if you've seen it yet in terms of like the particular style that he's mastered, or quote unquote mastered. But we should say that it's the idea of his fighting style is kind of the most supernatural the entire of the entire show. Everybody else seems to have like a kind of realistic style, kind of. You could probably see it working if there was like something going on, like maybe controlling muscle mass or whatever. I think that's kind of where that's hidden. I was kind of reminded of that, and I completely, actually, unintentionally, purposely, not said anything about it. I'm not sure if we talk about it here is saying much. But I just wanted to mention that I've been sitting on information that I'm aware of Kenshin, but we're just gonna move on from there. It might not totally satisfy your problem with that scene with the sword fight with him and guy in the woods when Cairo first got kidnapped.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that it was satisfying, but I think that there is like I didn't think about it at the time, but there is a
in universe,
a quote unquote like reasoning, and it has to do what the sword style he's practiced. But we won't really. I know you don't enjoy upfront information a lot. You rather just have information given to you, like when it like upfront, then you can keep it in the back of your mind for later. But I think some cases hiding information makes a little bit more, makes something have more impact. But that's what I just want to bring that up. Like I just thought about that. I don't know why I thought about it suddenly here. I did. But speaking of sword
okay.
fight, speaking of sword fights, we have the situation. We have the fight between Kenshin and Ayushi. I want to say I thought that sword was longer. Apparently, it was like a short, like dagger-like blade. Um, Am I wrong to assume that there was like a wasn't there like an image of him when he was younger, Aoshi, with a sword that was kind of the length of his body, or maybe I'm misremembering that.
So this is interesting. The he's fighting with a Kadachi, which they explain in the anime is between somewhere in length between a katana and a wakizashi or whatever it is. A wakizashi being basically a dagger and a katana being a sword. So it's shorter and has less offensive power than a katana, and it's light and adaptable with great defensive power, kind of like a dagger would be. Um, but the interesting thing to me was that the weapon, for a story that puts so many things in historical context, the weapon was actually popular in 1185 to 1333, not during the period that this story takes place in. The weapon was likely, like, since that was basically the only time it was ever made, it's either like an out of style weapon that was made sort of custom made for him, or like a really esoteric weapon that like he got a hold of somehow, that like was just made out of as a curiosity or whatever, because it hadn't been made in 500 years, or it was an antique. If it's an antique, then it reminds me of Sanasusuke's weapon, which was also an antique that was huge instead of being small. Um, the There's so little information about the Kadachi that its exact use is not known. It could have been a companion sword to a normal size weapon, or it could have been a sword for an adolescent. That last part caught my attention because it could have been a sword for an adolescent, which made me wonder if Aoshi had been using this sword since he was an adolescent and had adapted it as he grew up.
Are you saying because they got older, the size of the sword changed? Because it was short, big.
He was an active fighter when he was 14. So if they had given him one of these weapons as a 14-year-old to use, because it was considered as it's theorized that it was either a companion weapon to a longer sword that you'd have if you were fighting with two weapons, or kind of like if you watch Star Wars, like Ahsoka Tano has a long lightsaber and a shorter one, or if it wasn't used as a companion sword, the other theory they have about how it was used is that it was something that would be used for an adolescent. Like an adolescent would have that sword instead of a longer one that would be a little too big for him. So the fact that he was fighting when he was 14, yes, of course the sword might have looked a little bit longer for him at that age because he was 14. But if that's the case, maybe he's using the same weapon that he had been using as a child.
It seems so insane, but I guess I don't know this, the history of Eastern world weapons. Like, I guess I noticed like what a lot of things, like especially things can't be. If people don't know exactly what their use was back then. It's like one of the bigger problems about like old world Eastern world is that a lot of things that happened were not documented in a good way. I think it's the same thing with like it's the same thing. I think it's mostly common with China, because China's one of the oldest countries in the freaking world. But a lot of what happened back then is not recorded on anything that was still the test of time. But okay, even with the whole idea, like you said, there's something about okay, it uses a companion, so I guess that's why they kept on talking about how it was just one sword. Well, at least Yahiko kept on blurting that out. Like it was just one sword. If it was mostly used for as a companion blade, well, if its uses was for it to be a companion blade, I guess that explains why he kept on repeating those words of "it's just one sword." That was weird. But essentially, as we learned through his fight with Kenshin's fight with him, that apparently he taught Hanya Kenpo, and that he is the master of Kenpo, while Hanya is just an apprentice. Uh, The way he was fighting with that sword was actually freaking insane. I was like, good gracious, another guy who doesn't just use a sword. And Kenshin having a hard time dealing with him. Um, yeah, he got like I guess she got a good few hits on him too. I mean, look at those like those 3 slashes that he landed on Kenshin that sent him flying on his back. But I thought was interesting. I was like, did he just slash him 3 times? Because that's the way I could feel like that would work. Either that, or I guess it was a connected cut sword slash. I had no idea. Yeah, speaking of that, I guess that sword cut that he did, it looked like Kenshin might have died, quote unquote, but he didn't. And we have another instance of Kenshin's sheath taking damage. You have anything to say about that? I think so far. I think it's the 3rd time his sheath's taking damage.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely buys like sheets in bulk or something like that to make sure that he maintains these like his supply. But no, this is just another example of the stakes getting higher. Like this time he came out punched and beat up fairly well, and with 3 slashes across his chest, he came out the clear winner. And again, it shows how clever he can be. Do you know what I mean? That he figured out a way to be resourceful in this situation and kind of take care of everything, but like at the same time, yeah, he gave up his sheath because he was like trying to compromise for a less ideal situation so they could survive, and it literally saved his life in this situation. So that's fine. Like, he lost a piece of equipment and he got 3 slashes across his chest instead of 1. So we are watching the stakes go up continuously. For that being the biggest damage that Aoshi did to him, I thought it was disappointing. I don't know, that I thought Aoshi would be a little bit more of an epic battle than this, but this episode spent so much time on backstory and in history in general that
I mean, I think he was a pretty good epic fighter. I mean,
it was a pretty good fight, but I mean, they built him up for a long time, and Kenshin kind of.
I mean, who's to say that Ayushi's main purpose of the show is for him to be an enemy?
Yeah, I mean, I could see, especially with how the episode was going towards the end, I could see how some of the team or a large number of the team is honorable and or could turn around a little bit, but I don't know. I just thought the fight would be a little closer than it was.
I feel like it was freaking darn close. I mean, like, yeah, Kenshin still overcame it, but he had to like learn while he was fighting. It wasn't like Kenshin knew immediately what Ayushi was doing the entire fight. I mean, from the look, like, I mean,
it's kind of like when Goku fights somebody with a lot of tricks. Like he'll take a lot of superficial damage when he like fights somebody with a lot of tricks. Maybe gets hit more than a more serious fight in some ways, but like at the end of it, he's standing up and he's calm and he's like doing just fine. You know, and when you see Aoshi stand back up later, he looks at him and goes, "I think we know." You know, and you're like, okay.
a few months ago, I actually looked further to the episodes accidentally, just trying to see the titles, whatever. I see those anybody remembered. Somebody did come up, and I forgot. Again, this is just the common thing. I forgot about him. I mean, at the same time, I didn't. It's not that I forgot about him totally. I forgot about this character. In a way that was kind of weird. It was like I wasn't sure when he was going to show up. I thought maybe he was a much later character they were going to bring up. But I guess I'm misremembering how events played out, because there's also the other character I keep mentioning that I'm waiting for them to see how the animation flows for him. Because the show's animation looks like it's like, okay, this could work for whatever it's gonna come up. But you've already kind of seen him like on multiple occasions. Actually, yes, you keep on seeing him every time you watch the episode. I'm not gonna say any more than that. that will cause Jock himself to look at the episodes over and over again whenever he does a second view. I'm not even gonna say where. It's like he's seen him on multiple occasions. So I'm actually quite surprised he hasn't asked about him yet. But yeah, I saw this character much later on that I forgot about in terms of like where he was in the story. But it's pretty cool. I got when I saw him again, I was like, oh, that's right. So it's just freaking cool that
Is this the thing like when you watch Trigun and then you have to watch it again when you're done with it because you've learned so much about the character and it's answered so many questions about the early episodes?
I don't know if Rurouni Kenshin is like. I guess you could.
Do
Um,
you know what I mean? Because you almost have to watch Trigun twice after you watch it once because there's so many like things that you didn't understand in the beginning that you understand now that
I
you
guess how
have.
secretive Kenshin's backstory is, and the pieces that they're allowing us to see one at a time. I guess maybe this is a show. I don't think you need to watch, because my whole idea is, have I learned something? I usually don't forget an episode in my mind. Usually, I'm always applying what I learned to another episode in my mind. I don't necessarily need to go rewatch something. Um, twice, unless like I really love the show and I really want to go back and re-experience everything again. Um, I think every show has that kind of thing though, where you learn something later on in the episode, but then you go back and watch the episodes earlier, and things make way more sense. I'm guessing maybe I guess in a really weird ways, like I guess Kenshin's like whole idealism and like where he's at could easily be one of those things that you could like go watch the series over again and understand. Um, I don't know. I one of the reasons I really wanted to watch this with you is because when you showed me Trigun, I almost immediately thought about Rurouni Kenshin in general, and that's why it shocks me that you never saw at least like a. I mean, I know you say you watched a lot of shows, DVD or whatever, but even with that in mind, it's like they should have like commercials on DVDs unless you skip them. But or maybe he was again. Rurouni Kenshin at the time I know wasn't. It's like one of those diamonds in the rough. You don't really know how good it is until you watch it. And Kenshin at the time did not do a good job, I would say, in advertising itself as a shonen. And you probably only really would have watched it like on a whim, or like maybe if you're interested in samurai. I think that's kind of bad and kind of like makes makes the show seem like less than it really is. But to answer your question of like if you need to rewatch it, like I don't think you do, but maybe if I'm really thinking about it, things that they explore later on might actually make earlier episodes make a little more sense. Like maybe why Kenshin does the things that he does, like how he is as a person. I'm more interested in seeing if like there was a point back in the day when this show had ended that they did an entire anime about like Kenshin's past, like when he like went back when he was that manslayer. Um, and I remember that being such a big deal. I don't know like if they're gonna do that here, but more concise, because I feel like that whole battle side thing that we need to learn a little bit more about means a whole heck of a lot more near the end of the shit series than it does at the very beginning. If that's a way to say without saying much, because I don't think I watched that stuff. Um, I do remember either in my reading of it a long time ago or something like that. Like I honestly kind of wish I did, because like some of the stuff that kind of gets explored, characters that get shown, it probably it probably would have been more digestible. But again, the show does a lot of like storytelling through environment, um, and specifically using Kenshin as a reason to explore something, because he's the central character in the entire show. But but I guess overall, you could watch it. I feel like maybe you probably get more out of it if you. I guess I only say that if you like this show all the way to the end, and you don't like, you may have some complaints like you already do, which is reasonable. But if I guess if I know you're laughing, but I'm saying, but if you get to the end of it and you still like want to actually give it a rewatch and blow through it instead of like watching it once a week like we were doing right here, I feel like it's a good idea. I found myself really wanting to just blow through the entirety of what's on Crunchyroll, but I know I had to hold myself back, which makes me want to watch these episodes more and more. So once a week is actually good enough. Like okay, it's something I can watch weekly. It's still going on, being released episodes. So I have yet to figure out what we're gonna do about like when My Hero comes back. I do know the first episode they're coming back in May is gonna be like a recap, so I don't think we need to worry about that episode in particular. At least reviewing it, I mean. If I think maybe we should watch it, maybe. But
You should watch it and then maybe do a twofer for the first 2 episodes or something.
or we can just completely ignore it, because I mean, all it's really going to do is recapping what happened like last. Was it last year, David?
Sometimes they'll give you like 3 minutes of original content in an episode like that and establish like one important thing. You know what I mean? Just to throw the people that are watching it that already know everything that's going on a bone.
Yeah, I understand that.
That's why I said we could do a twofer and like just like if anything comes up, we could be like, there's that thing that came up in episode 1.
Yeah, I do know that they're doing that. That was already kind of like when they came out with the release date. That's what they said. I think they wanted. I really think they really wanted to warn people, I guess, before they get to the first episode of My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, this is new. Where's my new episode? But back to
And
Rurouni.
then 10 more years of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that at a different time when it's more important. I don't know what they're doing. I've already kind of cemented that I'm not watching Dragon Ball Daima, but like, I don't know what's your thought, huh?
What is Dragon Ball Daima?
Have you not seen those images of like a deformed Goku and not deformed, but like a really short Goku and Vegeta?
No.
Like how Goku got turned into a kid. It's kind of like that, but they're not kids. They're just really small. You haven't seen that?
No.
That's really weird because they were pushing that last year.
You know what I fell off of? I was watching Dragon Ball Heroes for a while, and it was just so cage matchy, random fight scenes that like I fell off of that. Did you ever watch any of that?
No, mainly because I saw it as it wasn't like it was bad. It was just that it wasn't what I wanted out of Dragon Ball. It was mostly just like it's kind of like it took Dragon Ball's universe, the video game series, if you're aware of that. It took that game and kind of just like made its own he made his own like little canon, because like there are versions of Goku and Vegeta in that series that come from GT, and by come from GT I mean like they actually bring into the fold Super Saiyan 4. I know you've already seen it, but they bring in Super Saiyan 4, and that's kind of a transformation that got lost through time and got lost into GT, with the whole GT not really being, not really happening thing that might happen in the Dragon Ball fandom. So a cool transformation kind of got lost due to it not being official. So I think they brought that into this non-official thing and just like do all kinds of characters, do all like what if scenarios, which is cool. I guess it wasn't drawing me in.
There was 2 Gokus. Yeah, there were 2 Gokus. There was the regular one and then the Dragon Ball GT Goku, and they meet and I think they fight or something, and they test out their powers against each other at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really, it's just really for fun. It's really for the fans that really like Dragon Ball and they want to watch something Dragon Ball related. I think it's really what that's really for.
What slowed me down was that I had to like find bootlegs every single time one came out and hear that it had come out. And I watched like 10 of them, and you had to find like the fan translations and stuff like that, and find when they were coming out before Toriyama took them down. And it was just a little too much trouble for me.
That's weird because they were all over Watch Cartoon Online before it went paid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw them there. I was like literally saw them and they were officially English subbed. I guess not officially, but like I mean, they were English subbed all right. They were on there.
They seemed like they were coming out first on YouTube, and then they. I guess if you're saying they subbed means that they subtitled, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were first coming out on YouTube, and there were like some really fan-made subs that weren't that great, and if you wanted to find it, if you watch it within a day or two of it first coming, you can really go on. And just wasn't like it wasn't my like cup of tea as much.
I played Dragon Ball Daima teaser trailer. Oh, that's coming out in the fall of this year. I did not know that. I'm even less interested. Uh, I put a trailer into the DM for you.
Okay, I won't watch it now because of the script. You'll be able to hear it. I don't have headphones or anything.
That's no problem. I just thought, look, I'm surprised you're not aware of that one. But okay. I don't know what I mean. If I get told that stuff in there is like actual canon to the series, I'm gonna be upset by it, considering that I'm actually reading the manga as it's coming out. Uh, by the way, I mean, it's still not. It's the whole Cell Max thing isn't any better in the manga, but the fights I think last a little bit longer. Um, I think Orange Piccolo kind of gets a little bit more shine. Some of the way the events flows differently too, with some really weird reason. Yeah, at least in there it kind of makes a little more sense. I mean, I still think the whole Cell Max fight, Gohan Beast Mode, is just really just too. And a lot of people seem to agree with my sentiment. Is that like I think that was just Akira Toriyama's apology to the Gohan fans, because considering like what happened to Gohan post Cell, and just in terms of his deep powering down and everything like that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I guess at the end of the day, I could be as upset as I guess I wanted out of it, because all they really did was say that Gohan had all this power in his body that he just completely stood off because he wanted to be normal. And I guess when he needed it the most, he pulled it out. I guess it's the best way to explain what happened and why Gohan Beast Mode is the way he is. It's just like giant hair Super Saiyan 2. And then Breastside Piccolo got transformation many years later. But he got
Yeah,
transformation.
finally.
Huh?
Finally, they gotta bring something up so they can make it irrelevant, I guess.
I mean, Piccolo still trains though, so I mean, honestly, him getting a transformation finally makes sense. I mean, like he's one of the characters I do know they actively make a mention that he's always training, and we always see it too. I mean, he's slicing up mountaintops, draining water, like telekinesis. He's always doing something out in the wild. Meanwhile, he has a phone with a kitten motif on it that he holds with his index finger and his thumb. I think it's hilarious. Okay, back to Rurouni Kenshin. Really, yeah, they had their fight with the Kodachi and Kenshin. Essentially, as like he was toe to toe with them, and apparently, I guess it's like his fighting style is a mix of Kempo. Not I guess it is a mix of Kempo and the swords and sword swinging. He also seems to use this entire arc kind of had like the whole idea of reach being being the main, I guess, theme of how they fight. And we have another character that uses reach to his advantage. Kenshin learned in the middle of the fight to how to fight that, which was cut himself a little bit by holding the dullest part of his sword so he could like block the attack. I can't imagine that's safe. What?
I didn't fully understand why that was so necessary.
He it just made it so that the sword was like shorter so he could react faster. I'm almost certain that Kodachi with its size also means that it's probably very inconspicuously light, and Ayoshi's we know got very long hands. I'm pretty sure there's something really going on there with the length of the sword and his reach. I mean, to go out of their way to say that in a sword fight, controlling your own reach is like what make you a superior, would make you superior in a confrontation with somebody who's just stronger than you are.
Yeah, we were just talking like 3 inches there. It was weird that that was like the big difference, you know?
I mean, and length isn't really all it's carved out to be. I mean,
That's what she said.
that's what you had to say to her. She wants to. I can't. I can't. I was trying. I tried it and I couldn't. but it's kind of cool that they brought it, and they even had they kind of like brought in Kairo a little bit with Yahiko showing what he was learning with her, and how to fight with a sword, which also brings up the fact that I wonder if she knows all this information and she's teaching it to Yahiko, how much how much has he mastered the sword style that she's teaching? I would honestly think she had to master it enough to teach it, but it kind of makes me wonder if she understands how to control a sword fight. Like, what does that actually mean in terms of her strength in a fight? Because so far she's Kairo, because she's done nothing but get kidnapped so far. And that doesn't really lead to you thinking that she's capable in a fight, but based on her teaching, she's taught Yahiko, and Yahiko seeing it actually in practice. It seems kind of like interesting to me. Is like, she knows this information. I wonder how much of that sword technique she's actually mastered before her father passed, and like how, and I'm saying like how capable is she in an actual one-on-one fight? Because I don't know this information. I don't even remember her being involved in a fight. But again, this is my memory from back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. But I just found it interesting that they had that little scene with Yahiko remembering what was going on and how Kenshin was controlling the fight, and then he learned that from her. I guess it means maybe he'll be a little bit, not a lot, but maybe a little bit more respectful of her when he gets back. I don't know if that's really true or not. But he saw what she was trying to teach him in practice.
Right, but he also seemed very impressed by the kid's spirit too.
You mean based on how interesting of a character he is and how not of a bad guy he is compared to Conrail. Oof, we'll get to him in a minute. I have a lot to say, and not enough time in the podcast to say it. He doesn't seem like that bad of a guy. Even at the end of the fight, when like Kenshin takes control of the fight, uses like the shorter, like makes the sword length a little bit shorter, and just like knocks the sword. Apparently, hits him in the neck one time with the hilt of his blade, with blocking his sword technique. And then a second time, after grabbing his sword with the only unarmed technique in the Hitchin Mitsurugi, I guess, playbook, and then using the hilt of his sword to hit him in the neck again. I didn't even see the first hit, like, until he mentioned he hit him 2 times. Like, excuse me? And then they had a replay when he hit him twice.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He got his own way. He was still fighting this guy, not seriously. I
don't know if it's just not serious fighting. If I'm being real, because what I have a problem with distinguishing is like a serious fight with him being him going into battle side mode. He doesn't want to do that.
That's what I mean, yeah. But he didn't go into battle side mode, and he didn't quite.
Well, he doesn't want to, because when he's in that mode, he kills.
Right, but that's what I mean. He's still able to take this guy out with some ease, without going even close to battle side mode. Like, you don't see even like a really fierce look in his eyes. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I feel like there's like
look in his eyes, but not like, extraordinarily serious look in his eyes.
I think that's the whole point, though. I don't think he just like. I think honestly, like he keeps on iterating. He even iterates it here that he's no longer the Hitakari. He's just a Rurouni. He keeps on iterating this as his new, as his new like self. Like I mean, on top of it, even in the intro, when you see the chains on his sword, it's clear that he does not want to draw his sword in that way ever again. I don't know how. I don't know. I mean, you could say he's not going serious. I just don't know. I can say that, he's not like going all out or whatever. Like while he's just a Rurouni. But I mean, based on everything we've seen, he doesn't look like he enjoys it. I mean, he had to do it on that other guy earlier because he was not gonna let him get out of that fight without going into that mode. Even with that, it seemed like it's one of those things. Like, even it took Kairo to snap him out of it. She ain't here if he were to go battle side mode. I'm almost certain Yahiko would probably be dead if he's as bloodthirsty in that state of being as I think he is. Like there's a reason why he doesn't he doesn't like fight that way anymore and why his sword's backwards.
Right. But
He would need her to snap him out of it.
from a big picture standpoint, Aoshi I think is like a stepping stone where things are continuing to get more serious. But this group didn't turn. Hanryu was taken out with some ease once he figured out his tricks. The next guy, Sanosuke, just took on his own. Like he's like, here, like I'll take this guy. You keep going. And then they hit Aoshi, and we find out that Aoshi has like four people under him left, and that he was like kind of the prodigy and the one that like they all looked up to and everything else, and he'd been offered all these great positions and political power and military roles and stuff like that. And then he goes up against him, and it's a good fight. You know what I mean? It's a good fight, but I didn't get that edge. I didn't get that sense that Kenshin was being pushed to the edge, which makes me think that this episode and this opponent, whether he becomes a good guy or not, which I could see possibly happening, whether he becomes like a redeemable character or not, I'll put it that way. You can see that he's just one more level of intensifying the series. Like I think Kenshin's got much stronger opponents in his future.
I cannot answer any of that or even talk any about that without saying anything, so I'm just not gonna.
But that's right. My vibe is that like Aoshi, compared to the people that he will be fighting in future episodes, is not that strong.
I think you're wrong, though. I think he's really freaking strong. I don't know. I'm
not saying he's not strong. I'm saying compared to who Kenshin is going to fight in the future, I think Aoshi is kind of mid.
I kind of still don't agree with it. It's not like I know anything. I'm like, in the back of my mind, it's like I'm just trying to think. It's like, to me, I was very impressed with this fight, and I feel like he was pushing Kenshin the best ability. On top of that, who's to say also he was really going all out? Aoshi, is like, I still find it really weird that as a kid, he had like a sword that was the length of his body. That's still really weird to me because I thought he had that on him when he showed his sword hilt, but apparently that was not the case when he unsheathed it. That's still bothering me. I don't know, and I get you mean talking about like pushing Kenshin to go hit Takari Battlesai is like, but it's like I don't know if like character wise, I know he doesn't want to do it, but it's like for this fight, it's like the problem with that whole idea is that like, and I'm pretty sure he probably could, based on, they're talking about Aoshi could have ended the war, and based on what he said about like the shogun that left the group, left the country, he could have ended the war easily, but it's like I had a thought process and I completely lost it. Kenshin going Battlesai for the fight is like, so far we've only seen him do it once, and the one time he did do it, and he didn't come back easily. It wasn't like a state transition of like, I can just turn this on and I can go back easily. It didn't seem like it was something that Kenshin was capable of controlling. And based on like the imagery in the intro with his sword being chained with red chains, and him having to draw it, it's like, what does that ultimately mean for that side of him that he constantly has to hide? Like the only time we saw him, we saw him go at once, and we only saw him come out of it once, and it was like when Pyru was there. Even the swordsman said that she was his weak point. But it's one of those things like, is it necessary for him to have pushed him to that state? No, not really. And Kenshin's even said that apparently Aoshi seems to be stronger than him right now. So I know that lots of the fact that he's not using his full strength right now when he's, in Manslayer mode, but it's just that I don't think Kenshin believes that's even necessary. And who knows, like, what is the ramifications of him slipping in and out of that mode anyway? Based on his ideals now and based on his ideals in the past. I mean, like you said before, and he has a serious look in his eyes every time he does it. But I'm gonna move on before I say anything more than I probably said. I probably said too much. I'm dead serious. I might have probably said too much. But essentially the fight pretty much ends with Kenshin freaking like giving him 2 throat chops, and makes him pass
Wait,
off for 10 seconds. What?
can we back up a lot for a second before we start talking about the very end of the fight? Yes.
What?
You still there? Okay. I wanted to talk about uh, uh, Tokugawa
I feel like he talks about that guy after he loses, doesn't he?
Yoshinobu. No, he talks about him early. He talks about him at timestamp 408.
Okay, I mean, you get the notes there. Go right ahead.
He was an interesting character that Aoshi seems to hold in such high regard. He was only shogun for a year.
He doesn't hold him in high regard. It feels to me that he didn't like him.
Well, that's fair too. He as shogun, he never even set foot in Edo Castle. He was originally started out as a after the death of Tokugawa Ieyasu in 1866, he was chosen as the successor. Became shogun, the 15th shogun in 1866. He never set during that time. He never set foot in Edo Castle. He was he started a lot of really big and popular changes. A massive government overhaul was undertaken. He brought people over from France to like modernize the armies, and things like that. And then what ended up happening was that he drew a lot of attention to himself from his enemies, given how strong and wise he was seeming to be. So they forced him to resign as shogun. Basically, they put him in a situation where the compromise was that he would resign as shogun. And then he tendered his resignation and withdrew from Kyoto. And that wasn't enough to them, and they called a meeting with a forgery, where a meeting built around a forgery of that called for the use of force against him, and moved a massive number of troops to Kyoto, where he withdrawn to Kyoto. And then there was a meeting called the Imperial Court, and he was stripped of all titles and land for nothing that he did that could have been constituted as aggressive or criminal. So then, so he gave up all his land in that situation. And then when the forces arrived outside of Kyoto, they were refused entry, and they were attacked. So the Battle of Toba Fushimi and the first clash of the Bashin Wars started up. And then the Tokugawa forces had a distinct advantage in numbers. His forces had it, but despite that, he abandoned his army in the middle of the fight, and they were able to raise the band, and lost his troops basically. Like, he lost the war, even though they had superior numbers, by a lot. And then he placed himself under voluntary.
I'm gonna let you continue, but I'm gonna use the bathroom. I'll be right back. You keep the people entertained with your knowledge. I actually do gotta go.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Alrighty. So then he placed himself under voluntary confinement and indicated his submission to the court. And then he, from there, he went to the whole of Edo Castle was eventually handed over to the Imperial Army, and the city was spared from all-out war. And then from that point, he went to um, at that point he'd made a lot of compromises and a lot of surrenders, and his whole career was basically based on compromises and surrenders at his own cost. Um, the abandoning of his troops made many of the Hanamoto that relocated were not able to find adequate means to support themselves, and there was a lot of anger and resentment to Yoshinobu from that, to the point of some of them wanting him dead. So he was forced to. He was so afraid enough of assassination that he redesigned his sleeping arrangement to avoid any potential assassinations.
And I didn't pee in the sink.
That's excellent. So
I'm sorry, people do not know why I'm laughing right now, but just
the most important thing that you missed while you were running off was that when many of the people that were serving him were relocated to Shizuoka, and a large portion of them did not find adequate means to support themselves. So the people that Aoshi is talking about are also referenced in his history as that there was a lot of displaced high-ranking samurai and things like that that just had nowhere to go after that, no way to support themselves, so they were desolate. And so when you say Aoshi kind of taking that role on as the one that's going to take care of them, make sure that they're taken care of, and things like that, and he stuck by them as one that dropped off and found a way to support themselves until he just had this small group left of sort of freakish, looking characters for the most part. But those were the last four that they remained loyal to him instead of going off on their own, while everybody else he oversaw and helped them kind of go on and spend their life find a life for themselves. So it was interesting that Aoshi's kind of stepping in and fixing one of the problems in history, which was that these samurai had nowhere to go and no way to take care of themselves.
yeah, that's kind of why they kind of not it's not I guess that's why I said I like the way they dealt with him here. Because that's something that they needed to do, which was have him be a decent human being, and helping these outcasts, for lack of a better term for them. Even that one guy, the guy with the giant ball, that guy had a job, but but he valued strength and wanted to get stronger. Aoshi gave him a way to work for somebody that he probably, I think that guy was an imperialist, I think is what he was at first. He worked for an imperialist.
Yeah.
And he came over and worked for him and gained actually we'll talk about him more because he's kind of how this episode ends. But he gets a brotherhood amongst these guys. Like he said, each one of them has their own problems. Hanya came from a village that killed their children, and he had to run. He had no place to go. He gained a home through him. I don't know anything about Ben Kamari or that other good dude, the guy who breathes fire with the gas, with the oil bag in his stomach. Don't really know where they came from, but we know that they were at least loyal to him. Yeah, he gave them a home, and he was a decent dude, which I already kind of was picking up on anyway from his first introduction. Well, not his first introduction, because the first introduction he was mysterious and seemed kind of scary, but as he showed up more in episodes, he wasn't that bad of a dude from the outset. Seemed like all he really wanted to do, which was fight him. Which you have a point, he could have just went after him and tried to fight him on his own. Who knows? He had his own agenda, and Kenshin just had to follow that agenda until he got to him. But pretty much ended the fight. Kenshin ended the fight with hitting him 2 times, by the way. Once with the handle of his sword, and then the second time hitting him in the neck with the handle of his short Kadachi, having him pass out for 10 seconds. He gets up and he's like, "Did I just pass out?" And I'm like, "Dude, what the heck?"
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much it's
Did I just pass out? I love that because it is almost that normal of a conversation, isn't it? The guy gets up and he's like, "Did I pass out?" Like, yeah, you were out for about 10 seconds.
and then he has that conversation with Kenshin because Kenshin asks like, "Why are you doing this? Like you don't like you obviously are a good person or a better person than Conry. Why are you even working for him? Why align yourself with this scum?" He didn't say those words, but it's kind of like basically what he was kind of hinting at. And he
Right.
told his whole story about like why he did not want to leave because you were offered positions. Like yeah, he was offered plenty of them. He just didn't want them. It made him seem like a decent guy. And then he kept on. As you actually say here, he actually after he got up, he kind of asked Kenshin, "Why didn't you deliver the finishing blow?" Kenshin at this point utters that he's a Rurouni, right? He's a Rurouni at this point in his life. But apparently, like Yoshi still wants to, he's like, if you don't kill me right here, I'm gonna come after you countless times. Kenshin still pretty much didn't do it. Granted, it wasn't that Kenshin said anything. It was more that Kanryo busted down the door saying, "I was waiting out here, but I got impatient. So I'm just like interrupting this conversation you two are having for character development, just to keep on the whole idea that I'm the worst human being in the world." And let me,
Pretty high up there.
huh?
It's pretty high up there. It's like, I'm gonna be the merchant of death. Hey,
I gotta say,
hoo-hoo.
I really like. I guess before Conryo even steps here, we see Conryo at some point during this fight in his office complaining that like he's in trouble because he's got these really powerful men that he can't control with money. Um,
Right. He's having a temper tantrum.
he's like, he can't control them with money. I'm just like, what made you think that these two warriors cared about money? It's probably like a second thought for them, but it's like it's not their main thought. Um,
And he wants to take them both out at the same time now. He's like, how can I stop them? There must be a way. There must be a way. And he's like
and
counting his.
then all 32 of his teeth are shown again, and I'm just like, dude, please put them away. This is a child, this is a children's show. Please.
I love that he owns a Gatling gun, and he's like, how can I take these guys out? I don't understand. There's
Well,
got to be
apparently
a
he
way.
bought that thing in that crate. That's what that crate was that he
I
had.
know, but it's just like the think, man, think. There's got to be a way I can take them out. And he literally owns a Gatling gun, and like it doesn't occur to him that maybe that's one of the ways he could do it.
Well, I mean, it probably occurred to him after he busted down the doors, like, and he just shows that he has this cloth.
It did occur to him, but just the way to him, it was like this incredible idea that he had. Like
Well, I mean,
he's a genius. He had to really rack his brain to like think of how he was going to do it, even though he owned a brand new Gatling gun.
actually, I mean, I guess you got a point there. I mean, the guy walked in and said, "We need to test fire this thing." It's basically what his like underling said. So I'm guessing like he probably thought about it, but it's like it's saying it ain't ready yet for whatever reason. Um, apparently the guy was like, "Oh, I can just kill them with his bullets." I'm like, yeah, and realistically speaking, samurai can't
What
do
if I
anything with
use
bullets
bullets?
unless
What
you're.
if I killed them with bullets? This is amazing.
What if I give them lead poisoning, severe lead poisoning? But he first busts through the door with this giant gun underneath a cloth, and I'm like, is that a cannon? And then pulls off the thing. I'm like, it's a Gatling gun. I was like, excuse me. So apparently he spent whatever it was amount of money to get a Gatling gun, which in the time period would have been an expensive buy for sure. So I mean, I guess it makes sense that he has all this money. What am I gonna do with it? Buy a gun, and not just any gun, a gun that's capable of firing bullets one after another in quick succession without reloading.
I should have done some more I didn't. I was too lazy to do the historical research for this.
I mean,
But the
I think at the
Gatling
time
gun,
period it would make sense. I did look into this Gatling gun thing. Let me look at it
yeah,
again. I wanted to look at when it was invented, and
it's not just that it was invented, but it was when they were brought into Japan. I believe they were history changing. Like I believe that it was like a gigantic deal, and like You know what I mean? Like in the same way that like planes changed the world wars. You know.
Apparently, apparently this gun would have cost, at least in in the states here, 1,500 at the time.
Right.
So like, I'm not sure how much money is like based on the way Kanye's talking, like he's a millionaire kind of. I'm not sure like what the Japanese yen would have been, like, would have been like at the time. But the way he was, like like mouth watering over it, it seemed like it cost him a pretty penny to get one. But 1,500 in the States, maybe it would maybe cost him 200. I mean, not 200, but like 2,000 maybe to get transferred over. I mean, how fast it would have. It was like in 1862. This thing was made in 1862, so it would have, yeah, definitely, he would have definitely had access to this. And apparently, the guy who made it, his last name was Gatling, Dr. Richard J. Gatling.
Yep.
I wonder in Japan. Let's look it up real quick to see what they did in Japan. I looked at the worst Gatling gun in Japan, and the Boshin War came up.
It was invented in 1861, so it was a pretty big deal.
Let me get. Well, about having to reload it constantly, with long times between reloads, which apparently I guess is the main reason why he made it. I guess with that, like, he brought this gun in. He says, "I'm gonna shoot you all down. I'm gonna kill you all with this giant gun," as a way to, I guess, quell the people that he was mostly afraid of. I'm quite surprised. But he fires this off, and apparently it's so loud, which I guess makes a lot of sense. It was so loud the entire house heard it, and like it woke up Sonosuke. He's like, "What was that noise?" As he's about to go upstairs, Henry was behind him, and he's like, "Ah, you again?" And he's like, "Don't worry, we already lost. I'm just here to pick up my comrade." And he wakes up Shiki. He wakes up Shiki, or whatever his name was, and I find it kind of funny that like this kind of just like solidifies the bond these guys have. The guy wakes up and he says, like seeing your face really puts energy in my bones, or something like something. Apparently he scared him enough to give him a little bit of a jump start. And I was like, in all harmonious, is like you and everybody else. And I'm like, dude, put on a face.
It's just like, bitch, you ugly.
But it's kind of funny that they have this like camaraderie that they can say those kind of things. And like Sonosuke rushes off. Apparently Bishimi and the other guy hear the Gatling gun from wherever the heck they are. I'm guessing in a lower part of the house. And when maybe it's like saying maybe they need to get up and like I guess check this out, see what all the noise was. And we come back to Kanryo as he's firing these bullets everywhere, and shoots Shimori in his legs, crippling him a little bit. And he's like, well, I might as well finish off the weekend Shimori here. And as he's about to start firing, Shikio, the giant man with the giant ball, gets in the way and starts taking all the fire, and the episode ends there. What?
Not exactly a cliffhanger, but definitely an emotional high moment.
And I screamed because I was like, "Are you kidding me right now? I was invested in this guy, and now you're gonna cliffhang me, kind of." On
He's got to be dead.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously.
The only person that could take that many shots and come walk away from him would be like Sanosuke.
Well, he fought Sanosuke. I mean, he kind of had the same durability.
Sanosuke is basically invincible. That's all I'm saying. Like, Sanosuke can take any amount of damage and come out and live.
But yeah, I guess he has to be dead now. Unfortunately, he'll probably come back. He's on the ground bloody. But yeah, the first episode is there. Good episode. Good characters. Hanryo needs to die, or at least be put in jail or something. Something needs to happen to him because like he's got too much money for his britches. Like based on the way, because he's talking about, I guess another thing I got skipped over, um, a little bit is that Hanryo reveals that this Gatling gun was kind of the first step towards what he was really what he wanted to do, which is be an arms dealer, because they make the most money. And
He was like using opium to ramp up to being an arms dealer to get some initial money going.
yeah, and I love that what Kenshin says after this, as he says, is kind of like the epitome of what he's actually doing. Like, you are willing to kill your fellow humans to get rich.
And destroy lives, shatter lives, I think is the word.
Yeah, he was something like, he was obviously, you're going to kill people to get more money, but he said it in a way that kind of made it seem even more despicable.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, geez.
Meanwhile, he's like, money is more important than like individual power. Like, watch this. I can buy power. Blah blah blah. And you guys work so hard for it, but I have money, so I didn't have to work hard for it. I can just buy it.
He kind of just mocks Kenshin about like how he got that strong. I'm just like, dude, you really are the worst kind of person.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy you hate to hate. You don't love to hate him, you just hate him, and you hate hating him.
I don't know if I hate hating him. It's just like, I don't like seeing his face, specifically all 32 of his teeth. That is probably the creepiest smile I've seen in anime to date. And I mean it. It's like, there's so many teeth. It's like, no other character smiles like that, and like all their teeth are just shown in detail. Like, the people went out of their way to animate him that way.
There's a smile in Princess Mononoke where the wolf, the big wolf, I can't remember her name, laughs, and they pull back and show all of her teeth, and that was probably the creepiest smile I've seen in anime.
I know there's plenty of smiles, and just like right now, like I'm mostly disturbed by him, considering that he's in my face, and I had no way around it. It's just like he's just there.
It just got kind of stuck under your fingernails. Kind of
I don't know why I'm like shaking my hands like something there, like dang it, Chuck. But yeah, like we found out what he bought in that crate. That was so mysterious. You know, Shinomori is now like gonna need legs, or at least a doctor, who apparently is conveniently in the floor above them. Still, actually contemplating seppuku. By the way, like I didn't mention this, but like we see a scene of her still looking at the sword, unsheathed, contemplating whether to kill herself.
Very briefly, and then as she hears them, because they show the status of pretty much everybody that's left conscious in the building when the firing goes off, because it's heard throughout the entire castle / mansion / house.
But yeah, like I mean, now he's like, he's got holes in his legs that he wasn't expecting. I like how he even says like, "What are you doing with that?" I'm like, really, Ayushi? Like you're gonna ask, "What are you doing with that?" It's either him or Shinji. One of them asks what you are doing with that. I'm like, this guy's got a giant barrel gun pointing at your face, and the first thing you're gonna say is, "What are you doing with that?" Like, he's the kind of guy that like if there was like he was part of some supernatural plot, like he would take a potion that would make him bigger and stronger, and he just loses his mind and turn into a giant blob mess of a monster.
Yeah.
But he's the guy that would probably take all the opium in his nose and then kill himself with it. But sorry, I think I need to end this because
he's the kind of guy that you sound like a drunk person that came up with like one too many analogies.
I'm the type of person that does not need to be hitting on his character or making a podcast about his disdain for a character, because I will talk about it for 3 hours. So we're gonna end now. With that, we will come back for the next episode of Murdy Kenshin and talk about that. Hopefully, well, the episode's called The End. I think this was called the end of the battle. So essentially, we'll end the fight there. See the aftermath of everybody. Um,
Maybe he'll run out of bullets. He's already used like 750 bullets in this
he's probably
episode.
already planned for that. He's probably got another set somewhere.
He's gonna reload with 5 master ninjas in the room, like getting ready to stop him. I don't know.
I mean, before he runs out, he probably can nail every single one of them in the leg.
If he has bullets.
But yeah, we're gonna end there. Thank you guys for watching. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and see you guys next week.
I'm gonna go have a dream.
One day.